Demiurge had been growing thin from idleness and boredom. Deadline of obtaining the label of lazy man was near, and the consciousness of being disgraced forced him to act urgently. Later he would understand that the reason of imperfection of human character was his hurry. Moreover, when the world creation was a fact, and he had a rest in seventh day, he understood the tragedy of performed mistake. But it was already too late. The earth and the mankind had already created. They were living not depending on Demiurge, carrying the properties of envy and not yet formed good, giving mankind the right of taking part in eternal confrontation in one of two sides. On the one side, in the form of light, spiritual and heavenly male origin. On the other side, in the form of dark, earthy and female origin. Anyway, Demiurge was glad. The most important, the idea had been found. Time had stopped, and the creation of world was in his mind. Demiurge began working. He knew that several steps are necessary before creation, where everything is in order and tied in harmony. He sat in front of writing table, found some old notebook in one of cases, and in one of its blank pages began to plan attributes of world creation. It will be a place where the sun declines, giving way to moon, where space orientation, thought, sense, understanding, and emotions are crossed into unity, and the cosmic perpendicular passes by center, confirming the line of separation of the earth and heaven marriage, where the laws of nature are the same in all coordinate systems, moving with uniform velocity and direction, where the bull is castrated for arbitrariness, and hymen is recovering in hot waters only once a year, where nobody will embrace commissar's body, where will not be absolute conceptions, where space and time don't play any role until they are unified, where adoration of phallus will be replaced by the symbol of life tree and will be placed in the center of mandala, and fruitfulness, with its 84% level, will force others to accept service, picked up from the abstract artificial phallus, which by modesty will be called portakar, where the cosmic order, being separated from sacrifice ceremony, will embrace the whole, breaking world regulation. And the north side of eternity with sensing orientation. S, the south side of eternity with understanding orientation. E, the east side of eternity with emotion orientation. W, the west side of eternity with thought orientation. Pen had never worked so well. The ink in inkpot wasn't at all dried or colorless. The sharp squeak as a locomotive steam was whizzing the birth of the thing. Being solved in metaphysical concept, the creation was becoming real, leaving fate tracks in defined environment, emitting from itself stink of mystery. Demiurge was hurrying. The syndrome of laziness that he suffered beginning from early childhood was showing animation signs. The concept of form creation was organized, though by difficulty, and the nonsense of rare spiral necessity was a fact. He looked around. In non-being were hanging vegetation, sea, mountain, apple, field, sand, rock, serpent, fire, nail, woman, car, TV and telephone, crescent, tank, wheel, inflation and authority, projection of antipathy and ultraviolet hatred, ideals, remaining will appear in a meanwhile. The main thing was the discovery of space form, where the favorable conditions for human will be solved in harmony. He sketched by memory the following 7 pictures, recalled from Lone Geology textbook's symbolic chapter, which is sketched on 6 papers. The blank paper wasn't found for 7th picture, or we don't know its place. He focused himself to discuss the positive and negative, strong and weak sides. Triangle. In favor and opposite, weak and strong sides were not approaching to discussion. Spiral. The first glance was enough. The logic of eternity and the smell of goat spiral's urine caused a feeling of disgust and nuisance. Spiral wasn't acceptable as a primary conditional picture for environment. Ellipse. Similarity with egg, which is hard to digest in evenings, and the memory associated with the pain of his birth kept him back with this idea. Square. There was a main thing in square, the attraction. He remembered that he already used the square as a fancy in environment, as a border separating space from remaining non-being. In addition, the border of environment is square. The square of environment is also square. If two squares in each other, where will human beings recognize themselves? Circle. Fondness for circle, a thought that divine being has a spherical form, creator has a form of sphere. Alas, he couldn't remember where he had read it. He looked in himself. Eureka definitely wasn't said by an old man in bathroom. Eureka. The form of space is found in the form of the circle. Then in the concept of the circle will be placed the cycle concept of time, daily and yearly cycles of centers movement, the phenomena of energy emitting, and all the things will find their places. Their azimuth will be herald of death. Fight for liberty will be closed and will be talk on treachery. Their scene, which doesn't have any relation with enlil, will nibble the cover of guitarist from the pain of not overcoming the barrier of impotency, together with ethnoseismologist came from far and huge city, satisfying eros sitting in him. Their film specialist, not aware of her attraction, will search it in two departments, passing through and not understanding that attraction is sitting in her depth. Their stubborn and selfish producer will talk about suicide with accountant's counter, not suspecting that she has already been excluded from the list of self-murderers. They are filled with 10-year remoteness dervish biography, prepared by white stocks, and the tragedy of persona non grata will smile from corner. Two blanks with light pictures filled with tears wetting station's eyes. Their 1-year intelligentsia with oil spots on tie. Reach of doctor's title has a not understandable closeness with his own wife. There, the lord of epicenter, half-drunk expensive beer, has a bad custom of leaving out flags from car's window. Fully filled vodka, night concert, women family concept, gave birth then feed, indifference for autumn rain, all courtesans, women nailed to the ground. Here, ethnophonica will merge with ethno-abstractionism, squeezing the snowy wall of provincial art, and the idiotic joy for all this will be placed on the sphere to take part in world regulation and creation of art. Kinetic energy, circle, spiral, swastika, smell of paints, cross, reminder, getting old earth. For those interested, the prehistory of papers is the following. The only mean of killing time in military post of Ukthasar, the mountain of testament, is to admire with rock figures. There has been registered on one of the rocks that all the papers of the world creation written by Demiurge were given to the leader, which would live in the place called Dik Dik Kare, the rocks facing the universe. I went there at once, and there was a meeting with the leader. The meeting ended with giving me 6 papers, which were described above. The leader stated that Demiurge has passed him numerous papers, nothing else.